Okay, we've finished turning this thing. It's starting to look like an ink pen now, as you can see. And we have a smaller bushing over here. Well, I say we finished turning. We've got it turned down to the bushings. I've got it just about to where it's just parallel right there with that bushing and with this bushing here. I got a little bit more to go. I'll take a skew and do that for a little while, and just so I can make sure that that transition goes the same across there, and then I'll start sanding it down also. But according to the instructions for this particular pen, I've got to come back here an inch, and I've got to take this acrylic all the way down to that tube that's inside there for 1 inch to allow for a rubber grip that will be on there. So I'm going to do that, and what I'm going to let you do is, to do that, I'm going to use this tool right here. It's a little parting tool, and look at the end of it there. It's made for grooving, and what I'll do is I'll mark my inch, and I'll come in here with this little tool like so, and I'll just work my way in here slowly. This is, you gotta go slow with this process. If you hook this as you're going through there, it'll rip that plastic right off, and there's nothing that blows worse than when you get a pen to this stage and you mess it up because you got in a big hurry. So I'll work on that. I'll get that cut, and after I get that cut, then we'll come back and what I'll do is I'll start out with a 220 grit wet dry paper. I'll do it dry across here, turn it off, sand it across lengthwise to get those scratches out, and I'll work my way up all the way to 2500. I'm not going to bore you with all that sanding process because it does get boring. When I get close to the end, I'll come back and we'll look at finishing it at that point. So again, I want to thank you. Let me get this marked right here, this 1 inch in. I had a tape measure sitting here somewhere. Just a second. Okay. Now I'm going to come in here and right at the at the bushing, I'm going to hold 1 inch, and I'm going to come over here and mark 1 inch, just like that. And I'll make a little mark there. All it takes is a little mark. So when I turn that lathe on, that little mark will become a big mark. Okay? See that right there? I'm going to move in here, like that. And I got a good clean mark right there. Okay? And if you can see that right, try that again. Come in here with my pencil, a little more. See there, I'm making a nice, clean little mark. Double check it with my tape. Alright, about 30-second less than an inch, which is probably just well enough to leave that alone. Okay? Now, let me look at my instructions right quick. Got them on the phone here. I don't know how we ever would have done it without these. But make sure the pencil mark 1 inch from the end of the lower wood blank, and or acrylic in this case. Double check myself. Upper blank, lower blank, okay. And come in to 1 inch. Off the lower end of the blank. Use a parting tool to remove the wood down to the brass tube. And you want to be sure that when I do this, I want to keep my parting tool at a 90 degrees with the rest of this pen. That's going to be important because if you get it rolled a little bit, then your edge is going to be rolled, and it's not going to fit up good together. Your fit and finish isn't going to be as well. So I got my hand on here secure. I'm going to just work my way in here. I'm cutting this out. And I'm just going to go in real slow. Keeping it at a 90 degrees. I'm going to come over here into this a little bit to give myself a little bit of room. I'm going to cut that down in there as a relief. There. I'm going to come back over against that. Keep cutting. There I am. You see how that stops spinning? That piece is free there. It's all done. That's all I got to do right there. Okay? Now, that is my pin. I have a little bushing that goes in a centerpiece of the point. So, having done that, I'm going to grab a piece of, lay out my sandpapers here. I'm going to turn, because when you cut your sandpaper, take a magic marker and write the grit on there. And that way you'll always know what you got. So each one is, because they get in a mess if you're anything like me. But you're probably not. You're probably all Mr. Got everything organized and clean and what have you. Alright, I got this piece of 220 paper. I keep a little water bottle out here because we don't have running water out here. I want to remove the tool rest. Okay. After removing the tool rest, put a little bit of water on this. I'm going to hold this up underneath it. And sand this like so. I'm going to sand this down with 220 for a while. Get as many of those marks out as I can. This 220 paper. And then what I'll do is I'll stop the lathe like so. See my marks, sanding marks there. I'm going to start working it like this, back and forth across like this, until I've got all of those sanding marks out. And I'm going to redo this process all the way from 220 down to 2500 grit. My next grit will be 320. Then after that, I'll be 400. After that, I'll be at 500, and then I'll be at 800. And from 800, I will go to 2500. And after I get to that point, I'll show you what it looks like afterwards, and we'll assemble it. That'll give you a chuckle when you see my fancy assembling press. You can buy an assembling press; they're about $50, and I don't own one. I have to make one. So anyhow, we'll catch you after a while.